this video we'll be discussing how to set up a vanilla Minecraft server on your local network so that you can connect to it on your local network, and then I'll also show with my router how to set up port forwarding so that you can play with people across the internet. To start with, you'll want to make sure you have Java installed. I do, so you'll want to make sure that you can run from command prompt the Java command. If you cannot run that, you'll want to go and get Java. You can just click on the download here, install it, and then once you can verify that you can run Java from command prompt, you can move on to go get the Minecraft server. One thing to note here on this download page is that this will be the version of Minecraft that is current as of the time that you download the server. So you'll need to make sure that the client that you're connecting from is the same version as when you download the server. So you can go ahead and click on this download link right here. That will download the server for you. And then what I like to do is move that server.jar from your downloads folder into somewhere more appropriate. For our case, I'll just make a folder on my desktop and call it Minecraft server. You can go ahead and move that server jar into here, and then you can go ahead and we'll make a new file that will run the server for us with the correct arguments to make it easier so you can double click it as opposed to running everything through the terminal. We'll call this start server.bat, and in order to properly name that file, you need to make sure you have show file name extensions enabled here in File Explorer. Once we have that, we can edit it in Notepad here, and I'll copy this command that they have here on the website into here. I'll replace this with server.jar to be the server file right here that we downloaded. And then I'm going to get rid of this no GUI part because the graphics are actually kind of helpful to see how your server is doing. So now we should be able to double click on this file, and that will start running our server for us. The first time you do that, it's going to just spit out a bunch of files and then quit. What you want to do then is edit this eula.txt and change this false to true on the eula property here. Save that, close it, and then rerun the script, and your server should start. Once it's done downloading, or once it's done running through the initialization for the spawn area, you should be able to connect to it. So I'm going to go ahead and launch my local Minecraft launcher on my machine. I'm going to make sure I have a profile. For the latest release. On your server, then, you'll want to run cmd, a new instance of cmd, and run ip config. This will show you your IP on your local network. So now I can come over here, click, I already have it set up, but I'll delete it for the purposes of showing how to do it here. I'll add a server. And the IP address is going to be 192.168.1.10. I can add that and it'll pick up the server, so I can then join that server. And this will work without doing any of the router stuff that I mentioned earlier, as long as you are on the same network as the server that's running it. So next I'll show you how to set up port forwarding so that you can expose your server to people across the internet. I'm just going to disconnect that for right now. And to do that, you're going to need access to your router. Let me just shut this down real quick so it doesn't make any sounds. So you need to get access to your router. In my case, I already know where it is on the network. It's typically 192.168.1.1, and you'll need some kind of credentials to log into it. So if you need to talk to somebody to get access to that, get permission, whatever, figure that out, figure out what IP your router is running on, and then log into it. In my case, like I said, it's 192.168.1.1. It looks like I'm going to need to do this from my host machine. So I'll just do that again here. Yes, log me out. I'll log in. And in my case, it is under advanced administration. Under advanced setup rather. Port forwarding / port triggering. And I'm going to add I'm going to add a port forwarding rule to 192.168.1.10. Let's see. Oh, I'm on the wrong. I need to add a custom service here. I'm going to just call this Minecraft. The port range is going to be 25565 for Minecraft. And the IP address is going to be 192.168.1.10, like we saw earlier. I'm going to apply that rule. So now anytime a service tries to connect to the IP of our router on that port, it will forward it to the server we just created. The next thing you need to do is find out what your public IP address is. That's pretty easy to do. You can do that just by Googling what's my IP. You'll just want to copy this IP. And now we should be able to launch Minecraft again. do multiplayer, and you can see the local network server we just set up still shows since the server is still running, but we're going to do another one. I'm going to call this tutorial server internet, and the IP address is going to be that IP that you got from Googling what's my IP. You can hit done, and you can see now that it's connecting it. Except in this case of the second server here, it's now connecting over the internet. So I can give somebody else that public IP that I just pasted in there. They can use that to add a server, and then they can then connect to the server over the internet. A couple of things to note with this. Obviously, your server is open to the public, so anybody can join the server if you don't lock it down. I'll show you the basics of locking it down here in just a second. The other thing is that your public IP address on most internet service providers will change often unless you have a static IP. So this won't always work every time you go to start your server. Sometimes if it doesn't work, you need to go do the whole public IP Google search over again. So if it doesn't work for any reason, you need to figure out what your public IP address is again, and then give whoever's trying to join your server that new public IP address. As far as making sure certain people don't join your server, you have a few options. You can see when we started the server there that it generated a bunch of files here. There are um, 2 files for banning people. If you know the IP of the person trying to join your server that you don't want, you can put that in here. Or if you know their name, which is more likely, you'll see their name pop up in this list when they join the server. So you can see here that my username is mpfeiffer777. I can copy that username if I wanted to ban myself from the server. I can open this file here. I'll just open it in Notepad. And this is a JSON array of player names that you don't want to be able to join the server. So if somebody joins the server who you don't want there, you can just put their name in here and restart the server. So in my case, the username would be mpfeiffer777, and you can add multiple names separated by commas. So if I have another user, test user 85, I could put that in here, make sure that they're separated by commas, and the last one does not have a comma after it. So I'm going to save this file, close it, and then I should be banned from the server. I don't actually want to ban myself from the server, so I'm going to go ahead and edit it, put it back to the way it was, save it, and close it. The other thing to note once you get the server up and running is that you can change properties about the server by editing this server.properties. So I'm going to open that with Notepad, and I'll note a few items in here. I won't talk to all of them, but I will link in the description to Mojang's documentation on this as to what each of these options does. So the one I fiddle around with the first always is this motd. This is the name of your server, so whatever you change this to will show up in people's server list. There's a few other ones. There's enable cheats. There's difficulty. You can change that to be hard or medium. I'm not sure if those are the right values. You can look at the documentation that I'll link down there. Then there's a bunch of other ones that are useful for different things. You can change the game mode, stuff like that. This is where you'll find all that pertaining to uh, to server settings. One last thing to note is that once you have the server running, you can interact with it using the CMD window that gets open. So if I want to see available commands, I can type /help in here. That'll show all the commands. And if I, for example, want to teleport my player to a certain location, I can do TP Pfeiffer 777, and then I give it a set of X, Y, and Z coordinates, and that would teleport the player. In my case, I'm not on the server anymore, so it's not going to find the player. And that is about it. Hopefully this was useful. Uh, Comment below if I can make another video describing uh, anything else about this process.